So it's gonna flow. It's gonna flow just fine. And we ain't attacked nobody yet. We gonna be all right. We are not guilty of attacking anyone. I'm not saying there has not been attacks on the show. No one here has attacked anyone. Legend. Top of SWAT.
I see the silver lining. There's a lesson involved, although it's underlining. You thought it was coming, the stars have begun aligning. Just be patient a little. It's all about the timing. Take account of your wins, don't lose your joy. My best friend just had a
okay, we're getting ready to start.
And when I look in his eyes, I just look to the skies with reason to rejoice. Despite the challenges, I'm determined to live life. Take the time that's been given and gather inside. No more living like tomorrow, we gon' get right. Gotta use the energy to give life. Stand with breathe, run with a mind. But George Floyd, we breathe the horse and scar.
Legend, go to the door.
Go my regards. A reminder I'm blessed, no times are hard.
Because Gam's here to get you. Gam and Sheeta are here to get you. Go stand by the door so Rashida can get you. Legacy, I didn't ask you to move at all. Sit down. Yes.
It's summer 2020. Summer 2020.
We got Facebook running. Rico? Okay. She said, hell yeah, like there is no debate.
It's other stuff that's going on out here, and you wonder why it's ISIS in America.
Sedan, certainly people upset here tonight, but we've got, innocent business owners who are now going up in flames. What's it going to take for you guys to be okay tonight and to stop this chaos?
It ain't me. It's not me. I'm going to let y'all know that now. It's not us guys neither. And I'm glad that y'all said that. It's not us. It's the police. This the madness that they spark up. This is what they encourage. This is what they provoke. This is what you get out of you taking a loved one from someone. This is what you get. You get a lot of people that's hurt, and they can't vent the right way. They can't no longer depend on the police to be here to protect us like they say they gonna do. So this is what you get. And no, it's not gonna end today. I can't tell you it's gonna end tomorrow. I don't know when it's gonna end. But it's for y'all to start. We're not the ones that's killing us. Y'all killing us. We can't make a change if y'all don't change.
Yeah. Greg G, the golden child. Love, yeah. If I were honest and describe how I feel, it'd be lost, it'd be anxious, confused. What a waste since the news has enslaved us. We doing wash your hands, wear a mask, you contagious. Folks losing jobs, now they living off of savings. Behind on the pavements, we beg and we plead solutions. The president say take a sip of bleach. Parents working from the crib, learning how to teach. Students on the Zoom, press on mute before you speak. They got us singing happy birthday as we drive by. Celebration, graduation through the Wi-Fi. Social distancing, the rules we abide by. In our home quarantine and we can find by. We was moving so fast and then it slowed down. We was naughty by nature and on our own now. So here we go now. Holla if you hear me though. Come and feel me flow now. In the midst of it all, I see the silver lining. There's a lesson involved, although it's underlining. You thought it was coming, the stars have begun aligning. Just be patient a little, it's all about the timing. Take account of your wins, don't lose your joy. My best friend just had a little baby boy. And when I look in his eyes, I just look to the skies with reason to rejoice. Despite the challenges, I'm determined to live life. Take the time that's been given and gather inside. No more living like tomorrow, we gon' get right. Gotta use the energy to give life. Stand with breathe, run with a mind. But George Floyd, we breathe the horse and scar. To To those we lost, go my regards. A reminder I'm blessed, though times are hard, 2020. Yeah, summer 2020. It's summer 2020. Yeah. Summer 2020. I'm seeing clear now. Yeah. The Vision 2020.
Other stuff that's going on out here, and you wonder why it's ISIS in America.
Sedan, certainly people upset here tonight, but we've got, innocent business owners who are now going up in flames. What's it going to take for you guys to be okay tonight and to stop this chaos?
It ain't me. It's not me. I'm gonna let y'all know that now. It's not us guys neither. And I'm glad that y'all said that. It's not us. It's the police. This the madness that they spark up. This is what they encourage. This is what they provoke. This is what you get out of you taking a loved one from someone. This is what you get. You get a lot of people that's hurt, and they can't vent the right way. They can no longer depend on the police to be here to protect us like they say they gonna do. So this is what you get. And no, it's not gonna end today. I can't tell you it's gonna end tomorrow. I don't know when it's gonna end. But it's for y'all to start. We not the ones that's killing us. Y'all killing us. We can't make a change if y'all don't change.
Good evening, guys, and thank you for tuning in to Uncomfortable Conversations. My name is Jeaux. Thank you for joining us again for episode 3. Today's episode, we will be discussing chivalry and all things tied to it. Is it dead? Who killed it? Is there space for it? Where did it go? All of that good stuff. So thank you for tuning in. I have a wonderful panel for you today. Some of them are not strangers to you. To my right, I have Mr. Tory Sledge, who's basically a senior now of Uncomfortable Conversations. He's a vet now. To my left, I have my friend Dante. Dante, what is your last name? Baker? Dante Baker, a friend. He will also be stating his opinion. You guys, if you saw episode 2 on gender roles, you guys got to meet Miss Jackie Rita Williamson. Across from Miss Jackie, I have my friends, my colleague, and my sister in arms, Billingston. How do I say your last name? Billington. I add all kind of S's to her name. I've never been able to pronounce it correctly. Billy. Across from Billy, I have one of the best audio techs you will ever meet in San Antonio, Texas, Mr. D. Wade. Yes, when Rico is not in town. Across from D. Wayne, we do have my very best friend, Miss Tiffany Blackwell, newlywed. I almost said your maiden name. Congratulations again. Across from Tiffany, I have another one of my very good friends, Tristan Mays. He also is not a stranger to Uncomfortable Conversations. He also is not a stranger to Uncomfortable Conversations or our organization, The Village Project. He was a vital part to our movement this summer with Black Lives Matter and the protests and things of that nature. So I definitely value him and his opinion. And across from Tristan, we have Mr. William Blackwell, the newlywed husband to my best friend, Tiffany Blackwell. And as a father, as a husband now, I'm very interested in hearing what he has to say about this particular subject, with us speaking about chivalry, me knowing my best friend and her standards and the people that she's dated and all of that good stuff. I'm definitely interested in hearing his feedback as well as hers. So without further ado, guys, kick off your shoes, get you a drink. Let's get uncomfortable. Oh, I also did not introduce our off-camera moderator, Ms. Candid Johnson. Thank you so much for continuing to moderate for us. Best moderator, hands down, guys. So again, let's get uncomfortable. For those of you on TikTok, thank you for joining us. We're getting ready to get started.
All righty, you all. So today, the subject that we are placing up for discussion is chivalry. And the first question I have is, what does chivalry look like and what is chivalry? So we're going to go ahead and go over the definition of chivalry. And I'm going to start over here with Tristan, and we're just going to go around the table, give everybody a minute or two to give your definition on what chivalry is to you.
She called me Christian on purpose. I don't know why.
Probably just lack of speaking. Tristan.
No, I'm just joking. But to me, chivalry is being kind, caring about significant other, doing things for a significant other, having their back. In chivalrous, I guess.
Okay. And Dwayne?
Chivalry is gentleness. A man being quote unquote a man, whatever definition that is.
And Jackie?
Chivalry to me is a sign of respect for the one that you care and love.
Okay. And Tori? What is your opinion on the definition of chivalry?
To me, chivalry is a social set of laws and rules in which we use to say how we will and will not operate. I think it's different to each culture and different to each person, but in its guise, it is a set of the way that we're going to operate between each other.
Can I do my answer again?
Yeah. Absolutely, Dwayne. Let's come back around.
No, I'm just kidding. I agree with that.
Appreciate it.
Okay. And Jordan, I'm going to end with you, so we're just going to go right over to the next piece here.
Chivalry to me would have to be, don't do that.
Now I'm laughing at Tori. TikTok's already like, oh Lord.
It's honestly essentially an old school way of courting that just kind of got set into society's rules and ethics as far as how we proceed in partnerships. And I necessarily don't think it's a good thing all the time, but I mean, that's essentially what I'm looking at it as.
Okay. Billy?
Yeah, I think these three right here, I agree with them for the most part. When I think of chivalry, I definitely think of like old school Southern, things like that. And just being kind and caring and humble. And I think it doesn't matter male or female, anybody can be chivalrous. Like, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Being that I am a Southern Belle, be nice to me. That's what chivalry is for me, myself. Growing up with my dad, he opened doors, he did those kind of things. And that's an expectation that I kind of got away from when I got to be a single mama. Because, I pack the water and I do all of that. And I killed chivalry for myself. I was just like, I don't have time to wait for anybody. I know we're talking about the definition, but I'm getting there. I just had to put me on blast real quick. I killed it. But yeah, chivalry for me now, being that I married William, is just the thing, like they're protecting. We going somewhere, we're walking, he's gonna walk on the outside. And I just, I feel like William.
Okay. William?
All right. So I just kind of feel like it's caring acts towards a significant other. It can be husband, wife, male, female, that doesn't really matter. It's just a way that you show that you care or just doing something nice for a person of the opposite sex.
Okay. So I did notice in your answers, you all said they were people of the opposite sex or perhaps considered weaker. Jordan, what is your definition of chivalry? What does chivalry mean to you?
To me, chivalry very much so is respect, but it is very much so gentlemanlike. I definitely attribute, when I think of chivalry, I think of men. I'm not thinking of women. Women have different ways that we show respect to our man. I don't feel like our men expect us to do things like walk on the outside, make sure your shoes don't get dirty. They don't expect us to open their doors. They don't expect us to do things like that. I don't feel like there are a lot of men who expect that unless their hands are full. Like if his hands are full of groceries, he's trying to help you bring your stuff in, then I can see courtesy as his wife or his woman, you opening the door. But for me personally, I see chivalry as a male's way to show respect. And the reason I guess it's so important to me is because as we went over in the last few episodes, well, in gender roles, I'm not very feminine. I'm not a very like super nurturing type of female, but I do feel like chivalry has a way of making me feel girly. You know, it has a way of making me feel like there's a respect there, and you recognize that even though I'm not very feminine, even though I am not, you know, I am very dominant, I have that personality, you still respect me and see me as a lady to me, which is that's what I see as chivalry. I see it definitely belonging to men. And I definitely see it as a way for men to show women respect. For me personally,
very romanticized way of chivalry.
Yes, I agree.
As we're looking at chivalry and evaluating the definition of chivalry, what chivalry means, and looking at whether or not chivalry is dead today, and where and when that death occurred, one of the things that I wanted to arm you all with is the Webster's dictionary definition of chivalry. So like Tori spoke of, like Jordan, of course, our married couple, and most of us here spoke about chivalry belonging to men. The Webster's dictionary definition of chivalry is mounted men at arms, knightly skill, gallant or distinguished gentlemen, the system, spirit, or customs of medieval knighthood. Also, the qualities of an ideal knight, acting graciously and generous. So my next question is, because most of you all mentioned chivalry belonging to men, and the Webster's dictionary even mentions the word men, according to gender. Do you feel as though chivalry also belongs to you, for seniors, or to adults, toward children? I'm gonna go ahead and ask Tori that, because Tori looks like he's ready.
Yeah, he already look like he about to jump out his doggone seat. What's up, Tori?
No, I agree.
He was already ready.
No, okay. No, look. Okay, so here's the thing, though. So when chivalry became a thing, we're looking at the years around 1100, 1200 AD, right? So you're talking about in a system where women weren't even seen as close to equal. So why was chivalry only for men, and why do we have it associated with men? It's because men controlled everything. Men were the only people who were allowed to be lords, knights, and everything like that. So yeah, it's only looked at as men if you're looking through the lens of that. But are we looking through the lens of 11th century, or are we looking at the lens of 21st century? So if we're looking at the lens of 21st century, women need to own, women should be able to own chivalry as well. It can't just be men. But looking at that, I also do think that, men take on a role in our society about if we're chivalrous or if we're not, or I think we use the term gentleman.
And so who would be the recipient of chivalry from said women?
I hope I am.
Okay. Let me ask you all really quickly. I would like for you all, fire off. I want to start with you, William. An act of chivalry that you would consider an act of chivalry. Something you would consider chivalrous.
No, I do it basically going to the grocery store all the time. You see somebody shorter, they can't reach the top shelf.
So reaching things at the top shelf for a shorter
That was
person.
the question I was going to ask. Is chivalrous something that you show towards the person that you're courting or your loved one, your woman, the one you with, or is chivalry?
Oh, we getting into the conversation I want to have now. Let's do it. Let's do it. One mic.
One sound. So William has identified a chivalrous act as reaching something on a top shelf for a person that is shorter in height than he. Dwayne, what is an example of chivalry? Without saying anything about gender or qualifying that example of chivalry, what is an example of chivalry? Opening the door, perhaps, would be.
And that's why I asked, because I like that answer, but I would think that when I think of the definition of chivalry, it's towards the woman that I'm.
So what's
Right.
one of the acts of chivalry
But that's a
that you
romantic.
would-
I agree, but there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm sorry?
What's an act of chivalry?
Open the door for my
Open the
woman.
door for your lady?
Like, taking care of the things that I'm supposed to take care of as a man, in the sense of.
Give me an example of one of the things. that
The
you're
one
supposed
that
to
they
take care
can't
of.
is the man taking off the jacket and laying it over the water.
I'm
First off,
talking
not
about
doing that.
literal examples.
But I'm saying that's an act of chivalry. A literal example would be me opening the door for my woman. when
Okay,
she's walking.
Miss Jackie, what would you consider a literal act of chivalry in the 21st century?
A literal act of chivalry is meaning, for me, in the 21st century would be either gender being courteous especially towards the one that they care for.
Okay. So one of the things that I would consider an act of chivalry is getting up to allow an elderly person to sit in my seat if there are no other seats available. So Billy, give me an example of an act of chivalry. Something like reaching the top shelf for a shorter person.
It's either gender.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a form of respect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I asked that is because these examples are not any gender specific, except Dwayne's example. So Dwayne, since your example is definitely gender specific and speaks to chivalry meaning that you would open the door for your significant other, would you consider opening the door for other ladies?
I do all the time. I mean, and I think that's being a gentleman. Now, I guess gentleman and chivalry goes hand in hand. But that's me, being respectful of other people. I'm gonna hold the door open for anybody coming in behind me.
Okay.
So I guess if that's chivalrous.
So I've got an open question. Anyone can jump in and answer this. Does chivalry only have a space in the world where women are victims or defenseless or damsels in distress?
No, because women are not defensive now.
Okay, Miss Jackie?
No, because women are not defensive now.
Okay.
They take all kind of variety.
I agree with that statement, Miss Jackie. I agree that chivalry should not only exist when women are damsels, but considering that we are speaking about the fact that chivalry is almost non-existent today, it's almost like we have to beg for it. It's like, well, can both of those things be true? Can women not be damsels? Can women not be victims? Can women not be, be as strong as they want? And chivalry still exists because it appears that the stronger women have gotten, men have turned their back on chivalry. It's like, okay, you want to be strong, you want to be independent, you want to be this, that, and the other, cool, do that thing.
But is chivalry not supposed to be an old school example of how we were to court and everything in a heteronormative relationship?
Chivalry is gentlemanship. I don't understand why, at what age? Yes, it is.
Or is it something that we've just qualified as gentlemanship? Because honestly,
what's the difference? It's 100% gentlemanship, and by definition, that's what it is.
But think about it this way: you had to impress the father of the woman you wanted to marry.
No, back then, yes, but I'm talking about that was back then, right? And today, there aren't even men that have to go and ask your father. Do we still? Would we like you to? Yes, but you may not have to. Chivalry, out of all of the things that we just named, are chivalrous. It's chivalrous. It's courtesy. I'd like to point out a lot of what you guys listed as courtesy. That's not chivalry. But with that being said, a lot of that has disappeared. It has gone away outside of holding the door open. Like he said, you hold the door open for almost anybody. That's courtesy. It's common courtesy. That's fine. If they don't want it, it's open now. Shut the fuck up and walk through it. But
sure that they're safe, whether it be on the sidewalk, where you see a puddle right there, you see a truck coming up.
I agree. Have you guys, for those of you here, if y'all have TikTok,
How does the act of walking on the outer side of the street apply to you in your relationship?
Ooh, that's good. I'm turning the camera around so I can see that.
It's very much protected. And then when it comes to my position, I feel like chivalry is a gentleman term, right? So I feel like it's more masculine, right?
Okay.
So in my position, that's what I do to my partner. Okay. I'm gonna make sure I protect my partner. Hey, some trouble come, we get into a fight, you gonna stay right behind me. Okay. Period. That's being chivalrous.
Let me ask you a question. Is asking for your hand in marriage, is a man asking a woman's father for her hand in marriage, is that an act of chivalry? No? What do you say? No? Okay, so that's not
but wait. This year, or are we talking about like chivalry in general? Because
she said in the 21st century, as in now.
Because in now, like it's still looked at in certain communities as chivalry.
Right, but we ain't speaking about everybody community. We talking about ours, the people at this table.
But still, in our community is asking, as a man asking for a woman's hand in marriage, is that an act of chivalry? Yes. Okay, because the reason I ask that is because the very definition of chivalry is to be knightly. So knights are noble and act with honor and integrity. So how does chivalry relate to integrity? Because I noticed that Williams' definition was absolutely not gender specific. Williams' definition and example
courtesy. Like I said.
He has identified the need. Now
That's
he's
courtesy.
chivalry. So what do you all think about that?
That's
Oh, no, go for it.
From the point of integrity, I feel like, yes, if you do notice, I climb shelves, so whatever. If you do see me climbing a shelf,
Help me out.
come on, and don't watch me and giggle if I slip a little bit. Bring your fucking ass over here and get this off the shelf with me.
So you would expect that from Jordan.
Right, but that's courtesy.
Or myself.
That is courtesy.
Chivalry is courtesy.
No, courtesy and
You
chivalry.
have
Two different things.
It's two different things. Chivalry.
One mic, let Tiffany answer. One mic. One mic, let Tiffany answer, please.
I love it. And that's my thing. So I like the ones that are usually
The best ones, the good fresh ones.
the top shelf. Like alcohol, the top shelf cookies, that's where you find it. I won't go buy those things if William's not with me because I can't reach them.
Somebody.
So I have asked, but the thing is, now asking people to go out of their way for you is a problem. Like, even though you're still standing here, you notice you're looking, like you're actively watching, hey, can you give me this?
So is chivalry going out of your way? I want to hear what someone thinks about that. Because what you said was
That
you're
is my
asking
problem.
someone to go out of their way. So is chivalry?
That's
is,
my problem.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
That's my problem.
I want to hear that.
That's what I'm saying. That's my problem. I don't understand how something that you do somehow became my responsibility. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's right. The responsibility is your significant other.
Chivalry is going out of the way.
Courtesy.
Go ahead.
So
How?
chivalry going out of your way.
So if we think about how,
Different things.
but if we think about how chivalry is, right? So like you're supposed to open the door for your partner. You're supposed to open their car door for them. You're supposed to walk. I don't say the walk on the certain side of the street is chivalry. Is not. I don't think that's chivalrous. That's just more so a protective thing because that could be either person. It's just generally told in the South that the man does it, and that was for her not to get splashed on. But well, I mean, because it used to be we didn't have like the sanitation, so it was like a lot of. Ooh. But in general, like if you think about it, I'm getting out of the car. Baby, you got a handle on the inside of your car. I'm walking in today's car about 4 or 5 feet extra, walking to your side of the door to open it for you when you could have opened it, walking ahead of you to open this other door for you that you might have got to first, and then proceeding to go like chivalry is going out of your way because you love a person, but I don't think it should be something that is required. There's a certain level of respect that I think we've lost because in the name of chivalry.
I think y'all forget who made chivalry. That's what no, not even that. White men who saw women as damsels always in need of distress. Like that's
it.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's a mistake to pigeonhole chivalry as just something for dating, like you're trying to gain the attention of somebody. That's not.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. No. The chivalry code was for between.
One mic, let
Her definition said a nightly act. So to me, like, okay, if we work a night job, it's 11 o'clock at night. You parked at the top of the parking garage.
So
I'm going to walk with you to make sure don't nobody attack you. That's a chivalrous act. That doesn't mean I'm trying to get with you. That just means, hey, you know what? Woman, I don't want you walking by yourself and somebody just come out the dark and get you.
So are we?
I would see that as chivalry.
But does that not set the tone that she can't protect herself?
It's acknowledging that you don't expect her to. It's not that she can't. It's that why would you allow her to? If you see Miss Jackie getting attacked, you just go stand there and be like, she's a strong woman.
No.
You can't have it both ways. Oh, sorry, y'all. One mic, you right.
Me seeing a woman get attacked and me walking out of my way to help her to her car is not the same.
So you only want to protect someone when they're in the act of being
If you need
attacked?
help, I can help you, but if you don't need my help,
But why wait until they need help? That doesn't make sense. Why would you just let her walk to her car? Like in that scenario, why would you? Oh, she may not want to be protected. That what?
William has identified that there is a risk factor involved.
Right.
And that risk factor is something that we all suffer from. So we can always assume that in college campuses, you can see on campus, usually there is a button that is close by in parking lots so that you can alert that button who are in need of help immediately in dark areas.
Mhm.
Parking alleys
woman
and
can
things
get
are
grabbed
lit
passing
up
that button.
to avoid these situations.
It's a 3-second.
I'd like to put something on the
It still
table.
can happen.
As
It's
a
on.
tipped worker on the Riverwalk here in San Antonio, I walk home with $250, $300 in cash on any given day. Many of my male peers have been robbed. It is a normal thing for people to target Riverwalk servers who are all leaving the Riverwalk. Some of those guys actually park together and walk together because they've identified a risk. And that risk is not a normal risk where you're walking out of your parking garage where you work at an office building where you don't have any cash on you, but you're walking out with a bunch of people with cash. And some people that are vulnerable are men because they don't have weapons. And these people actually have weapons. So would that be something that you would say, hey, there's a need there, I'll do that there? Anybody can chime in and answer how you feel about that.
That's showing compassion.
No, that's chivalry. No, that's chivalry. That's chivalry. That is chivalry.
A group of men protecting each other, walking to their car is chivalry. Is that what you're asking?
Two men who say, hey, guys, we've been robbed. Guys have robbed us at gunpoint.
You ain't saying walking no man in his car.
First of all, chivalry was first created between. No, chivalry was first created between two knights and how that they would interact with each other. That's where chivalry comes from. I think that's what I mean when I say y'all keep.
Well, I understand.
So the thing is that, but it doesn't. Right.
That part is fine though. As far as the history of it, that is fine. As far as the expectation, because you weren't alive when that happened. You weren't alive when those two knights came up with that, and you weren't alive in the 1100s when that came up. Because it has. We didn't change it, but the expectation for what chivalry is and the definition of it has changed.
Does not mean it changed.
The acts of it just changed. Even in the dictionary, it's still courtesy. It's a courtesy act, knightful and noble. I'm sorry, moderator.
What would you, Jordan, call that act of a man who perhaps, maybe this guy has a weapon, has the license to carry a concealed weapon. So he actually has a license to carry a concealed weapon. Perhaps he is an ex-cop who's trained. And he says, you know what? If my coworkers are going to get robbed every day, I'm going to exercise my right to just do an extra favor for a guy. What is that called? He's a good Samaritan?
It would be chivalry.
If it's not called chivalry, Jordan, what is that called?
Considerate?
Consideration.
Courtesy? Considerate?
I have a question.
It's considerate.
I have a question though. Can we circle back to what the definition of chivalry is though?
Okay.
Can we get that refreshed?
So the definition of chivalry,
Y'all.
was actually, in its archaic sense, was a knight. It was a noble knight who would, and I'm going to pull that up, y'all, really quickly so we can do that verbatim. But the reason why I wanted to present that definition to you all was strictly because Webster is what we usually go to say, well, this is what the definition said. Because what we want to identify today mostly is what chivalry means to us in the 21st century.
Right.
And if it does exist.
Right.
So I'm going to pull that up real quickly, and that's going to be mounted men at arms.
Right, but it changes for different people.
Right, but you just said it didn't change though.
You
just said I can't change it, but it has changed over time.
No, I'm saying that some people romanticize it.
And I do. I'm one of those people. But what I'm saying is it's changed. Wait, what? What happened? I heard Boosie. I did, but I heard Boosie. What happened? Yeah. Yeah. That's the jam.
Is that you all have your own house, own car, 2 jobs?
That part, I don't have 2 jobs. I ain't doing it.
So my question is, the independent woman, what do you think kills chivalry? And I want to start over here with William. I want to go around the table and give everyone a chance to
who killed it, William?
What you think killed chivalry? We're going to end with Jordan.
I will say exactly what killed chivalry is being called thirsty for trying to be nice to somebody. That's what killed it. Being nice to somebody and they say, oh, well, you just want something from me. Wait till we get to that. Wait till
You're talking about Hurtyville or something.
No.
We just gonna move on because I'm about to tear that answer to shreds.
You go to say a regular store and you see somebody walking in, you just say, let me get the door for you, or you see they carrying about, nah, I got it. I don't need your help.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying.
You just want something.
That's a certain type of woman. That's what I'm saying.
Doesn't
But everybody got an answer, Miss Jackie. We're gonna get to you. We're gonna get to you, Miss Jackie. Next. Go ahead, Tiff.
I can only speak for myself because me personally, prior to my husband, I killed chivalry because I had 2 small children by myself, so I was used to doing everything by myself. So going out with people, let me open the door for you. I'm in this mindset where I got it, because I have to have it, being that I'm the responsible party for other people. I take on that responsibility. I didn't let anybody really be what is considered chivalrous and open the doors and do those things. It wasn't because I felt weak behind it. Well, it was just because I feel like sometimes y'all go too slow and I'm ready to do it now. What brought that back for me as far as, revived it, put it back on life support, now we're here. Our first date, we went downtown, we parked in the middle of nowhere, and I'm never gonna let you forget that baby. We went to a concert, so we walked there. He was on the outside the whole time, but if I got out of what my place was as far as being on the inside, he was very sweet about putting his hand to my shoulder and pushing me back inward. Crossing the street, you're looking both ways, and you're making sure we're going.
Come on, Will. Come through, Will. Represent for the man.
Across the street, I'm not very social, and like being around a large group of people, being around strangers irritates me. It does something to me. So at the concert, if I felt like stiff because somebody's walking or too close to me, he put himself between me and that person to make sure that I was still comfortable.
Which means you
Now that's chivalry.
And now they're married, Billy. Exactly. That's very much so chivalry, but ain't nobody asked you yet. Go ahead, Billy. One mic. What's up, Billy?
No, I don't think chivalry is dead. What I think is that it's just not interpreted through media that much or portrayed through media anymore. We basically get all of our information, all of our daily entertainment and stuff from social media. And so everyone's seeing, these rappers, NBA players with all the wives, all the girlfriends, the money, the bitches, whatever, and the drugs. They don't want to respect nobody. They don't want to, help nobody out. And then everybody has sort of fantasized this way of living. So I don't think that it's dead. I just think that people only look at what is presented to them in front of them. They're not looking at people who are everyday people. And they're following behind these people who are, at this point, not even real people.
Dante, is chivalry dead and who killed it?
Don't jump on me.
I'm making no promises.
Chivalry is dead. Okay. While I am agreeing with this next statement, the independence of women killed chivalry on the basis of, I'm still going off of chivalry is an old school as term ideals of when women were considered quote unquote less than men. Now women don't have to depend on a man for shit. Y'all got your own. Y'all don't really need us for the most part.
Listen, I have a hetero life partner,
and so
I need.
no, listen. Like,
I'm like,
in
what?
general, women don't necessarily need men.
But isn't that just a responsible person that doesn't need another person? Does that just have to be a woman?
No. There was times where women couldn't open bank accounts with their husband, without their husband. They couldn't do certain shit without a man.
Well, yeah.
So, like, in general, their independence movement, when they got all of this independence, is what's
I'm just
going to
trying to
kill
figure out
chivalry.
why we
Because
keep
you
going
don't
back to
need
100
us.
years ago.
Furthermore, I still feel like it's a bullshit ass idea because there
We're
were
talking about
chivalrous
20 parts
on one regard, and behind those doors, women were still getting their ass beat. So,
Okay.
I said what I said.
want to come over here to Christian real quick, and then we're gonna go down, ending at Tory. What is chivalry dead, and so what killed it?
Chivalry is dead because of rap music, niggas.
Oh.
Oh, no, not that.
Oh.
And because females choose to be independent, that means to the male mindset that I don't have to be chivalrous because she don't need me to. What?
At all. It makes no sense.
But
It's
nice.
Wayne.
You know what I'm saying?
Wayne, is chivalry dead?
It's culture based. And I
It's
think
culture based.
And I think in a lot of ways it's dead because of the propaganda that's been put on us because of marketing and because of the independent woman marketing that has been put out there to say that a woman doesn't need a man. Nobody needs anybody. But this thought of that the woman The
I
black
beg to
woman
differ.
is
Yeah,
who
so
you
everybody
think
needs
of as an
somebody.
independent woman.
I love me some men.
And to say that an independent woman, it creates a confusion for these young boys out here who wasn't raised a lot of times with the real man as
That part.
up to.
Tell them something, D-Wade.
So when they hear independent woman and a young boy hears that, he thinks, I don't need to help her because she got it.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that's what an independent woman is. An independent woman, you say you took care of your kids and things like that. That's a real mom as an independent woman. And you're still independent because you can take care of everything you need to take care of, even with the husband. So that doesn't mean an independent woman is somebody. And she can get her own with you.
Ms. Jackie.
So chivalry started, to me, I'm gonna say that it's not dead. But I am gonna say, from the white aspect, Caucasian, you know, they damsel in distress is always that weak little white lady.
Oh, no.
Never had to go pick cotton, never had to go and get a bucket of 10-gallon water. Don't give me the preaching now.
In the water.
We now, our children have lost chivalry because black women have always done so much as far as the same thing what our black men were doing. So then as they got free, they saw that the white man was, you know, stepping on the side to protect his woman. They followed the rules. They followed the white people rules. They followed it, and now y'all back to, they took the dad out of the house. The kids didn't see that there was a man being nice to their mothers. So that alone wiped it out.
Yeah, hey, nice.
No, just the system. It took our children and the mothers and moved them into a home because when they were free, women had to travel from city to city to get work just like the men. But when they told us, okay, we give you food stamps and a check and you don't need that man, the kids no longer know how to treat a woman. And they think that they can call us anything and everything.
So in a nutshell, what would you think killed that? Government involvement?
Show us. It ain't government.
She say show
involvement.
us.
It's called systematic racism.
Okay.
Not racism.
Thinking about that, Ms. Jackie, I do have a question for you about that.
Yeah, capitalism. That makes sense.
And how that does. Tori, your what do you think about chivalry and the state of chivalry, and if it is dead, what killed it?
Let's blame it on them.
Well, for me, chivalry, I'm gonna keep, my personal opinion is there's no such thing as chivalry. And I mean this in the sense of that chivalry was used in a way to distinguish between nobles and peasants back in the day. It's still kind of the same way. It's still used as to see people who are more above than those below. So it's a social construct that we've created to distinguish where we sit at in society.
And we were the what?
And we're exactly, we were the peasants. So it has, and then once we were allowed freedom, right, especially in Black society, we adapted the ways of the society that was around us. And one of the things was that if we wanted to get the things that they had, we had to be like them. Therefore, we adopted those cultures, and therefore we call it now chivalry. And so to me, I don't ever see it as a thing or something that's real because it was just created to control. Again, aside from that part, what if there is such thing as chivalry, what killed it, as people have said, the biggest one I do believe is capitalism, because it creates and distinguishes a class system between two different people that allows the transfer of monetary means. The second part, if today, would also be not only women finally adhering to their independence and to their power, but also them not subjugating themselves to the perversion of men at men's disposal. So pretty much women taking back their sexuality is a bigger one, and their independence on what they will choose to accept from men.
But women do love when y'all be like,
oh, but you know what? That's human. That's the thing. That's like,
y'all be all up on
but that's human because I like it too. When a woman
Only
told me,
from the right men, though. Let's be
Let's hear from Jordan. Jordan, is the chivalry dead, and what killed it?
I don't believe chivalry is dead. I do believe that it is dying, but I choose to believe that it still exists because I'm not married yet. And I need for it to exist. Right. Amen. Jordan's very single. Okay. But I also feel like chivalry is not dead, it is dying, and men are slowly killing it. I don't care what culture, I don't care what race, I don't care what background, I don't, y'all, you, y'all, all of y'all swing lows are killing chivalry because I feel like chivalry should be a part of your character. I feel like if respect and love and courtesy and all of these things are part of who you are, if integrity is a part of who you are, if honesty is a part of who you are, chivalry should come naturally. I feel like it should be who you are. And you cannot then blame the death of something that is your character on anyone else. If I'm a responsible person and that is my character to be responsible, I will not blame an irresponsible decision on someone else. I chose to be irresponsible in that moment. The decision that I made was mine and mine only. So if you say a woman saying, I don't need you to open my door, made you not open a door for any other woman ever, you weren't chivalrous to begin with. You're a shitty fucking person. If you say that a woman embracing her sexuality somehow made her for the streets and she's no longer worthy of chivalry, she's no longer worthy of you walking her to the door, she's no longer worthy of you walking her to her car, of you protecting her in the streets, you're a fucked up person. Chivalry should be a part of who you are as a man. It should be a part of your character.
In response to you, Jordan, then is chivalry conditional then, or should chivalry be conditional?
What's the counterpart for women?
Since you expect
Courtesy.
chivalry from those humans who identify as male, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Sure would.
You are identifying as someone that expects chivalry from those humans who identify as male. Do you feel that you should reciprocate with something that deems you worthy of chivalry?
No.
So is chivalry conditional?
Yes, chivalry is conditional. It should not be, but it is. And when I'm trying to think of how to properly explain this by giving proper examples, but I don't feel that it should be conditional, but I think that it very much so is conditional. I feel that a lot of men, like I said, if you're dressed a certain way, they very well may leave you alone. Or if you seem not necessarily too put together, but that's one of the things that I've run into as well. It's intimidating and they usually just leave you alone instead of opening the door, just doing small things. And I think me and Dwayne and me and Kendrick had the same conversation. And I'm just like, what is it about women who are independent, who I do have my own shit, I do pay my own bills, I am a good mother, I take care of myself. There's not a single person putting money in my hand for me to pay a goddamn thing, but you still need to pump this gas. Like, I don't understand why me being independent makes you feel like, oh, I don't need to be chivalrous. She got it. You're a fucked up person.
As someone who purposefully cannot do something that you love to do, which is eat cookies, when you go to the store and it's not available for you, we all know not eating those cookies is not okay. What do you feel your role is? Because you know that if you happen to look up there and just wish for those cookies and someone says, hey, can I reach that for you? What would you think your responsibility to that person who just considered what you've identified as a chivalrous act to you?
My responsibility is to respond with gratitude.
Okay.
Like you said, a lot of independent women, I got this, I don't need to know, whatever. You get flippant responses. Mm-hmm. Nobody says thank you. You walk through the door, you don't thank you. Mm-hmm. Have a good day. Those kind of things.
He's like, my chivalry has a limit.
With the expectation, you forget that nobody has to do anything. Mm-hmm. It's nice. Mm-hmm. It's nice. It's very nice for, rando to, hey, I'm going to grab you those Milanos up there because you're staring at them. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. You have a great day. That's nice. Be nice. In return, be nice. That's the responsibility of a woman, is to be nice.
I think it comes down, respect is given where respect is. Like, it's a mutual thing.
What has been your experience, Dwayne? And then I'd like to hear a little bit from Tori. What has been your experience with those acts of chivalry or courtesy that you have extended to who you all have both identified as being a courtesy, but you've identified to women and you've identified that anyone can be a recipient of chivalry. Yeah. So I want to hear, Dwayne, from your chivalrous acts that you have committed toward women, what's been your response in
I
general?
want to dig out of my hole real quick because I think chivalry. I guess when I came in, my definition of chivalry is a manly thing towards women. But in the way, I'm sorry, what's your name, brother? Will explained it. It's more of a respect thing, and I can completely understand that. But I don't know if I call me holding the door for my brother right here chivalry.
So
That's
when
just
you
me
have
being nice.
committed what you consider to be chivalry, what you've done with the intention of being chivalrous,
I've been
what
married
has been the
20
response?
years.
What has been the general response that you've gotten? Have you been met with gratitude? Have you been met with consideration in return? Or were you met with indifference? When you committed chivalrous acts toward women, did they say thank you? Were they grateful? In general?
Well, my wife recognized it. I've been married 20 years. So my wife recognized it and also returned what I was looking for from her.
Okay.
So I think I've had good experiences from it because my father raised me as a man. But I have seen it on the other side when I'm out and about and, a woman, if I may try to hold the door open to be nice or even say ma'am. That's what I was even going to bring up. When I call a woman ma'am, I've been told don't do that.
Okay.
And
So
I don't understand that because I'm just trying to show respect. Maybe it's because I'm from the South, maybe I'm Texan or what, but if I say ma'am, I'm showing respect when I've been told don't call me ma'am.
Okay. Tori, what has been your experience with your acts of chivalry that you've committed, because you do consider chivalry to be acts of courtesy that could be given to men or women.
Yeah.
What has been the general response that you've received in reciprocation for your chivalrous acts?
Somebody rubbing his feet.
No, in general, I mean, typically people like me, but I think it's just that I do usually approach things very politely. Like I'm not, it's don't say loud things and carry a big stick, right? I just try to do right by everybody, men or women. When it comes to women, there's been definitely certain times where I have had to step up in a role that I didn't want to, but it was just the right move, right? Where it's like somebody might be harassing somebody else, and I'll be the first one to shut that.
Were you met with gratitude when you stepped outside and went your way to commit that?
Definitely, always, yeah.
I got a quick question, real quick, while we on Tori. I got a quick question. Okay. So, for those of you who know me, TikTok as well, you guys know that I was very active in the Black Lives Matter movement here in San Antonio, Texas. During my role, I won't even say leadership, during my role in the movement of Black Lives Matter, there was a speech that I gave about protecting Black women because we deserve it. Black women are some of the most unprotected human beings on this fucking earth. I said those words, I meant those words, I still stand by those words. Not more than, I want to say no more than 3 weeks after I gave that speech, I hosted another protest and I myself found myself under attack by someone else who was in the movement. I don't know if you remember this day, Tori, but an elderly gentleman was upset with me for not hooking him up with a meeting with the mayor. Tristan, do you remember this day? He was upset with me for not hooking him up with a meeting with the mayor. He was very much so drunk. He approached me. Wait. He approached me. He approached my team. He was yelling. He was very much so there. He was yelling at me. He was calling me out of my name. He was walking up to me, putting his finger in my face. In that moment, I'm a strong Black woman. I'm not getting ready to back down, and I fight men. Okay, I will square up with a full-grown man if I feel threatened, and I will fight for my life. So, in this moment, this man is berating me. He is calling me out of my name. He is walking toward me. He's saying F me, and he's doing all of this kind of stuff. In that moment, I looked up. Tristan, who is here, had walked over. Tori, who was sitting to my right, walked over. And a young man named Antonio? With dreads? Yeah. Okay, Antonio, all three of them walked over to where I was, where this man was cursing me out. All of them stood in front of me. Tristan told the man, you need to back up. You don't need to talk to her like that, blah, 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 blah. The man got upset with Tristan and got louder, continued yelling. When that happened, Tori stepped up between myself and this man, and he said, hey, one, this is not the time nor the place, but I also cannot stand here and allow you to disrespect this woman. Would you consider, when you were doing that, because the conversation that we had after that was the reason you walked over was because you were there for my speech at the Women's March, where I said, protect Black women. You walked up to me and you said, in that moment, you could not sit in the back. You could not just stand in the back and watch that happen after I had just given a speech about Black women needing protecting from Black men. Would you or would you not consider, all of you, because you don't know if this man had a gun, he was drunk off his ass. You don't know if he had a knife, anything like that, threatening my life. Would you or would you not consider that chivalry? And then if you do consider that chivalry, would you have done it if it were two men arguing?
That's an interesting question. In that moment, I won't even lie to you. I do not remember that.
It's like, I don't remember none of that.
I don't remember any of it.
It was the one for Vanessa Guillen, when we were all in front of St. Cathedral there.
Yeah.
And that old man walked up and he was yelling and cursing at me. Yes, we were off to the side. Yes. And you walked up and you were bloodshot red in your face. I don't know if it was fear or if you were mad, but you stood right between us. You said, this is not the time. I remember your words. This is not the time nor the place, but I cannot stand here and allow you to blatantly disrespect this woman in my presence. Those were your words.
Yeah, I mean, real talk, in that moment, it's not like, oh man, I'm gonna do the chivalrous act. It was, one, you're part of my family, right? Two, we have this thing going on, and this should not come from anybody, right? So it was more the sense of that if he touches Jeaux, I know I'm gonna react. So it was more of, in my eyes, I won't even lie, it was, if I put myself in the middle of it, I can diffuse a very bad situation. If it was chivalrous or not, I wasn't thinking about it. It was the fact of the moment, and we talked about it afterwards, where it was that, Black women definitely need to be protected because it's something that we don't do, and it's a necessity that needs to become more commonplace.
Would you have done it if it were two men arguing?
If it was two men arguing, and if I knew like we had the same type of relationship and things like that, yes. If that was somebody I knew, if it was two strangers, probably not. More so because it's like, I don't even know what they're fighting. They could be fighting over a bologna sandwich, and I'm like, they can
homeless people.
So I want to go back to Tristan. When you say you commit these chivalrous acts for your partners, or your significant other specifically, because you are a more dominant figure in your relationship. So what do you expect in return for your acts of chivalry?
Sex. I just expect just being loved and being cared about. I mean, it doesn't really, you don't have to acknowledge it because that's just me as a person. To that question, what was asked, what Jordan said, sorry, it was, if it was two men arguing, it could be my homeboy. I'm still walk over there, you don't have to talk to my homeboy like this.
Now, if it's a stranger.
If it's a stranger, I would assess the situation, and if it's going to get out of hand and it's not the place for it, I'm gonna try to calm it down.
So let's add a variable in here. It's a 6'2" guy, 300 pounds, talking to a 5'4" man who is thinner. Tori, quick answer. Do you intervene?
Depends on who's talking. Yeah,
they're both talking cash man. They're both talking cash man. Do you intervene? They're both talking cash. Do you intervene?
Oh, they're both talking? No.
It looks as though one is bullying the other. Do you intervene?
Yes.
It looks as though two men who are equally of the same stature, physical stature, are disagreeing and one is aggressing the other. Do you intervene?
Yes.
Obviously, okay? And I'm gonna ask you those same questions, Tristan. Two men who are similar in physical stature are arguing. One is being more aggressive. Do you intervene? Obviously, you can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Dwayne, how do you feel about intervening when two men are arguing and one of those men is either aggressing the situation while one is trying to back up, or either so huge that this other person probably does not have a chance against him unless it's formally trained.
I mean, as a human, you should protect people.
What do you do is what I'm
in that
asking.
moment, but he might be a molester and the dude might have caused.
So what do you do in
so
that
I don't know their
instance?
situation.
So in that instance, what do you do? Because in a couple
In that
of conversations,
instance,
Would
you
you-
have to be as a human.
D-Boy's like, I mind my business. D-Boy said, I mind my business.
we're never speaking about, and uncomfortable conversations, we are never talking about hypothetical situations. These situations are on the table. And there are two men in front of you arguing, and one of them is larger than the other in physical stature. And he's bullying that smaller guy. What do you do right now?
If the little one is trying to get away, then maybe I ain't stepping in.
He's like, I'm just being honest. I ain't in that. That ain't me. Honest, yeah, honest. And it's completely okay.
Every opinion is valid and relevant.
Right.
But see, as humans, we assess things as we're walking up. I'm gonna see more than just.
So after your assessment, you have seen that this person needs help, probably.
You don't know who has a gun or who has a weapon.
Okay.
Now you involved and now you in the child stuff.
So I mean,
I don't know
sometimes it
what
don't
the
matter
hell
though.
but I'm not stepping in.
There's a lot of right now.
Now let me
I'm
not
not
stepping in.
Is that variable of fear, whether or not you know if someone has a weapon? Tori, is that something that you consider?
I mean, yeah.
Do you consider that, Tristan? Does this person have a weapon? Do you consider that?
Yeah, always.
William, do you consider this person have a weapon? Okay, Dante, do you consider does this person have a weapon?
No.
No, and D-Wayne, you've already said you're not helping.
You know what?
So whether or not, so I wanted to ask the men that, because, I mean, no, every opinion is relevant on uncomfortable conversations,
Facts.
and every situation is happening in the here and now, because we want to be prepared for these situations, and we want to know how to appropriately respond and hear each other. So we
What would I do?
So real quick on
Yes,
that note.
go ahead.
So me and my wife was arguing one time.
Okay.
And it was more than it should have been. And we were in public. And I had decided to walk home. And this female seen us from a distance, and she was like, "Come on, y'all stop. I'm gonna take you home." And now it's me and my wife versus her. Like, don't jump in our conversation. We already arguing. So like that's kind of where I see it. Like sometimes people's business is their business. Now I'm
Absolutely.
assess it as I
Now,
walk
21st century. They're asking when.
If this person is,
Right now,
get
if it were happening right
robbed and he's gonna get murdered, then yeah, we ain't gonna let that happen right here. But
Okay.
I
Okay.
self-protection.
One of the things I want to circle back on something that Jordan.
That's ingrained in people though, right?
And so I'm going to ask that in respect of all of our authors and artists that are Black and legendary, we're going to be silent while I read this. We're going to talk really quickly about the Womanist Movement, coined by author Alice Walker. Alice Walker was an activist, author, she's a poet. Yep. She is a legend and a hero in the movement for our community. And so one of the things I want to talk about concerning some of the things that Jordan was talking about is the Womanist Movement. The Feminist Movement, coined in 1960 and the 1970s, when women of various skin tones came together to question the male-dominated system. We did see several acts of racism that were directed directly toward Black women who were unable to actually join that movement. White feminists took over, negating the injustice and discrimination of heterosexual and gay, Black, and brown women. In turn, this made it difficult for women of color to stand behind a group that did not consider their experiences nor listen to their plight. Alice Walker, who we all know is the author of The Color Purple, one of our more popular movies, was a great activist in the 1960s and shaped and coined the Womanist Movement. And Alice Walker said, and I quote, "Womanism is to feminism as purple is to lavender." How does that make you feel to know that there actually had to be a movement created because we were actually shut out of the movement that was created for our gender? I'm going to start with Miss Jackie, go over to Tiffany and Billy, and I'd like to end with our host Jordan again, y'all, with that question. Miss Jackie? How do you feel about that womanist movement, about the fact that that was created specifically for us, that had to be created because we were essentially shut out of the feminist movement?
Well, the reason I asked you to repeat the question is because, for one, I love Black people. I love my people. And I feel as though we have always been at the bottom of the toilet. I feel as though they keep on
In America.
put it over that well, Europe is fine because they love us. But I'm
Yeah, I was like, I had to specify. In America. One mic. How you feel about womanism?
How do you feel about womanism, and how does that relate to what we're discussing today? How do you think that the womanist movement, being to the feminist movement as purple is to lavender, how do you think that affected chivalry in the African American community?
Well, for again, centuries, we Black women have taken the load of everything, the grunt of everything, even other different ethnicities. We had to clean their houses, we had to clean their floors, we had to do everything for everybody else. And then Black women weren't aggressive, they weren't loud speaking as I am.
And then got labeled lazy.
But then they call us lazy. But we're not lazy. Because I can tell you plenty of inventions that Black women have made. Honey, we've made America. Y'all just don't know. But I'm gonna just tell you this. I feel that Black women have always had their own, I'm not gonna say agenda, I'm gonna say their own mind. Because who made up the song of freedom, how to get free? Who did that? It was us. But I'm just gonna say, we carry everybody's load, and we should be, and now, especially now, demanding respect.
Y'all should be given respect.
Automatically. Everybody came from a freaking Black woman. That shit is fucking crazy.
I feel proud within knowing, like, people like Jordan, Billy, I feel like it's a door open. And this door that has been opened by you guys and Tristan and Pharaoh and so many more. It's just that y'all have made it where they see us. They haven't seen us. They know who we are because they're in fear of us. But they actually haven't seen us. And like you see the movement of all Black women now in different positions, we have to continue it. So I'm gonna say I feel proud about it.
Okay, Billy, how do you feel about being a Black Lives Matter supporter yourself, working in the movement, protesting as you do on a regular basis? How do you feel about just the fact that there had to be an entire separate movement created for Black women?
I think when it comes to movement, women in general, for the most part, I feel like they're more willing to work together than men are, whether you're Black, white, Asian, whatever it may be. But I do think that it was necessary for it to be separated because Black women do not experience life the same way as other races. So it's just like, you're gonna have that talk with your Black child about cops. A white family is more than likely not going to have that conversation. So yeah, a black woman is going to experience other things than a white woman in life, and that's just the sad truth about it. So yes, it needed, sadly enough, it did need to be done. It needs to be separate, but I think we have for the most part, we have the more of a common goal, going in a more common direction, but they're not exactly identical. Right. They're fraternal.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's gonna always be.
So I feel like the womanist movement in parallel to the feminist movement is necessary, especially now because feminism is extreme. I'm not asking for me to be able to just I don't know how to explain it. Yes, independent women. We're here for that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I identify as an independent woman. However, me being an independent woman is not me also saying that men are irrelevant. Right. And that is the messaging that extreme feminism has. Yeah. All I'm saying for me and my womanism, my experience is different. Like Billy said, my experience is different, and what I need as far as being treated as an equal, but also being recognized as a woman is different from somebody who lives a life contrary to mine. So it is necessary, and they are totally different things. I'm not saying black men are trash, and I'm gonna do it without you because I can. We need you. We need you. We need y'all to step in and continue. And don't let chivalry die. If you feel like it's a courtesy, share that courtesy. You don't have to put a name on it. I feel like to go by Webster's definition of chivalry doesn't fit the time that we're in because everybody's drawn a different definition of what chivalry is anyway. So for older people, it's the gentlemanly acts, and for others, it's courtesy. All of it still should be met with a thank you, and I feel like women's agenda would go further if we could say thank you to the males who do respect us and do without feeling like it takes away something. You being nice to me doesn't make me weak. You're just acknowledging my personhood, and I think that it's uncomfortable because it's not something that Black women experience often. So it's like, oh, well, I can do it. I can do it because we're, like she said, popular culture, independent women, bitches and hoes, all these things. Everybody up in arms about Russell and Sierra. Future treated Sierra like trash, had her looking crazy.
Say it, girl.
Not
Say it.
actually drags.
Nobody wanted Russell Wilson. That he's weak and all of that.
Yes,
Even
we
guys
do,
jumped
honey.
on the bandwagon saying that Russell was weak for treating Sierra
A simp.
like she's precious.
Yeah,
He's a simp for treating her like she's
A
precious.
simp. That's what they call
It
it.
feels good as a woman to feel like somebody sees me as something of value. And I think that's what, for me, what I would say chivalry is treating another person like they have value to you.
Yeah, that's it. Cares about you.
It is. It's a like
And women,
my
both sides.
version.
No, but it's a lot
I
of
know
people who
some
would call
but
him.
he wasn't a simp for that.
You know, it's a lot of people who would call
Can you
him
repeat the
that.
question so that I can get my answer?
How, absolutely, we do want to hear from all the ladies about how they feel as activists being, needing an entire, during the height of the feminist movement, as more African-American women reported being shut out of the feminist movement because like Billy said, their issues weren't being addressed. Alice Walker was, taking the task to create a movement specifically for us. How does that make you feel about having an entire movement, considering your personal experiences, specifically the one you spoke about today, with men who did not consider you worthy of protection, perhaps, maybe, or
For me personally, it almost makes me emotional because I feel like in the realm of people, period, Black people in America are last. We're always the last one to be thought of. I feel like when you don't just do people, but you break it down to gender, females are last. And even when you break it down to gender, Black females are scraping the bottom of the doggone ocean according to the way that we are based on the way that we are treated, the wages that we receive. And the problem with me, what makes me so emotional about it is I could probably take the shit if it weren't from our own men. If it were white men treating Black women like shit, I'd be like, look, that's America. You feel me? Like that's the way that it is. It's not the way that it should be, but it's the way that it has been for centuries. That's the way that it has been, and we are in the process of trying to make it happen. But to be a Black woman who birthed Black sons, who wants to marry a Black man, to be disrespected and to not be seen as worthy of courtesy, of common courtesy, based on the way that I dress or the way that I speak or the amount of money that I make or the fact that I can work now or the fact that I can open a bank, the fact that I can drive my own car and ride a bike by myself, the fact that I can walk in the rain by myself, the fact that I can go to work and make my own wages by myself. In your mind, that made it to where because we're equal, you don't have to show me equal, because that doesn't exist either. But anyway, because we're equal, you don't have to show me courtesy anymore. You don't have to appreciate, like she said, our personhood. It makes me emotional. I can't speak for all women, but it's almost you not going out of your way. It's almost disrespectful, and it's a slap in our face because Black women go out of their way every day to protect Black men. And I don't even think that Black men notice it. I don't think they realize that we peep for the cops more than they do when they're walking to make sure that they're good. You know, it could be somebody else's completely, I don't know who that child is, somebody else's son, but it's a Black kid. And I see the fear on his face if a cop pulls him over. I'm pulling over. Right, I'm pulling over. Black women stick their necks out for Black men every day, but we have to beg you to open a fucking door? Black women stick their necks out for Black men and Black children every day, but we have to beg you to pump our gas? That doesn't make sense to me. Not as an activist, not as a mother, not as a sister, not as a daughter, not as anything. And my father wasn't in my life growing up.
My brothers, they pump the gas, they open the doors, they
I
take
agree.
the trash out, they do all that.
I 100% agree. I also feel like Black Lives Matter, as far as being an activist and whatnot, I feel like when it comes to feminism was not created for Black women. It was not made for us. So it's not that we were shut out. We weren't supposed to be there. They when they said we're trying to elevate women, they weren't talking about us. I feel like Black women have always had to create a space for ourselves. There's never anyone else. There's not another race alive that is going to create a space for Black women to feel safe, because they don't know what safety is to Black women. They don't know what safety looks like. In their minds, we're already safe, so they're not trying to create a safe space for us because they think we're already safe. So Black women we consistently have to create spaces for ourselves. I feel the same. I feel like Black men have to create spaces for themselves too, because a lot of things that are created are not made for our men either. But then we keep coming back together. We keep trying to fix it, and we keep bumping heads because we continue to run into things like this in this mindset.
Can I add something to this though?
You absolutely can.
Well, I didn't mean to cut y'all off. I know y'all want to go.
William is dying.
Let's Tori. Let's talk while we're still kind of on this subject. Really quickly,
this shit is fucked up.
About the womanist movement, feminism, how that relates, and how these activists.
My bad, y'all. I went on a little long, but I felt some type of way.
I'm gonna say it like this. I completely agree with everything Jordan said to fault. I agree with everything. I'm sorry, blanking on
Miss Jackie.
Miss Jackie. I agree with everything you said.
I agree with you too, except for the Gucci mama.
So what it comes down to is acceptance. Okay, when you're expecting a man to do these things, you have to be able to accept it. You know, now when it comes to Black women, you guys are expected to be strong. Okay, all the time, and then it comes to a point where you should have and be able to turn that off, and you don't know how. You're not allowed to. Okay, now when it comes down to it, if you're dealing with a man that doesn't allow you to do that, you're wanting that those chivalrous acts, and he's not giving them to you, you're upset with that man for not doing that. Then you basically lump all men into that. So then when you have that man that does do those chivalrous acts, you don't accept it.
Because we're tired of being let down.
But
wait. Isn't that the same as men saying that if a woman gets upset with you for opening her door and you don't open the door for nobody no more, that's the same shit.
You're saying both sides, but you're saying both sides.
It comes down to acceptance from both sides.
Right.
Okay, you have to for a good man. I'm speaking for the good brothers out here. Okay, we are here. Okay, we here.
Y'all exist. We believe.
We all have to cut through the bullshit in order to find what it is that you're looking for. You're going to find that chivalrous brother, that one that wants to protect you from these things and do all these kind acts for you. But you can't sit here. But you can't sit here and be so spurned.
Bitches want a chivalrous man.
You said that one more time.
Why are you so aggressive?
No, she said it right. The bitches don't want
The bitches don't mind.
What did Tori want to say? Because you wanted to follow up with what I said, right?
Oh no, I was going to add with this the feminist movement and in this way where it's back and forth. And I'm sorry, remind me your name. Will said that it comes from both sides, and I want to say that that's so true, and we miss that point sometimes because we typically focus as men because usually we're more aggressive. But here's
Is that why y'all date white women?
Oh no! Wait a minute!
to say is that because I've even been put in a position, especially working within our organization, many times where it's that even though we want to champion Black women's voices, right? We shut down Black men, even though it's because it's always seen as that if I disagree with you, because I see you as a peer, and the moment I put you at that level of peer and equal, somehow I'm no longer able to disagree with you as a man. Have you seen that in the movement?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
I don't think.
But you don't get none. You in a
I don't think I understood what you were
you
just
don't
saying.
agree with me.
If you don't get none, what you mean?
Right.
Get none of what?
Yeah,
run that back all the way back.
Let me explain.
I
So,
understand what he said.
so I probably in what we've done in different organizations, I've usually been demonized because we all know that I usually have a strong opinion on things, right?
This is why you're great for podcasts.
But in our movement, I got very demonized because if I see you as a peer or if I see you as an equal and things like that, I will disagree with you not necessarily because I want to shut you down, but because you're presenting a side of something and we want to get to a better solution. But in our movement, I've been demonized as I'm against women and I'm against Black women.
Misogynistic,
And
womanizing.
I have been told that I'm misogynistic.
Yeah, we're like, we got the update. We got the update.
But
Right.
Because I disagree. Not because of any of my actions, not because of anything I
So
said.
you disagree and identify that action. How did you disagree? Was it the way? Was it, we don't know.
I think it's because of the
I wasn't present.
the social climate that we
Don't
were in.
disagree.
Okay.
So when we had the protests going on, and because of the movement, we wanted Black women to speak. We wanted Black women to paint that narrative. We didn't want a Black man to sit there and say, "Well, I've been hurt." We've heard that so many times. Yes, your story matters, but what about the Black woman? Right. So when it came to Tory disagreeing with any issue that was brought up, I understood where you're coming from because it was like, don't disagree with Black women. Whatever we say, go.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, I would agree with that.
If you have a logic sound mind, of course we want to sit there and hear more from you when you're speaking. But when you just go off on a tangent and bring your beliefs into the movement, then it's a different
Or your traumas.
I feel like everything has an extreme. Everything has an extreme. To include the feminist movement, we started calling some of the feminists feminazis because what you believe in is not what feminists. Well, yeah, he did as well. But what you are considering feminism is supposed to be a woman's right to choose what she wants to do. It is not supposed to be a woman telling everybody else what they're supposed to do. So if you're doing that, you're doing it wrong. You're not a feminist, you're a dictator. There's a difference. But I feel like people go to the extreme in everything, and I feel that they did that in the movement as well. People go to the extreme when it comes to racism. Some things that people are calling racism is not racist. That person's just an asshole. That doesn't make them racist. And I feel that people did the same thing when it came to our movement, especially when it came to people like Tory and people like Pharaoh, because people were calling them womanizers because they spoke over us or this, that, and the other. And then as I sat back, because I'm not going to invalidate another Black woman's feelings. So I'm not going to tell her that what she's feeling is incorrect or not valid. But when I sat back and I looked at both of these men, and I had to honestly tell them, I don't get that. When I speak to them, they're not cutting me off. They're not telling me that what I'm saying is not valid. They're not, it's not even, like an attack. And you're trying to make it seem like these men are attacking you by telling you that they don't like what it is that you just did, or that they don't agree with what it is that you just said. That's an extreme.
An act of, is that more, that dynamic that we're talking about, Tory, that you're speaking to Jordan, that dynamic that Jordan has witnessed as a woman, that dynamic that you've identified that has demonized your opinion and your place in the movement, how much of that is due to trauma that has been, I think Dante wants to answer that.
It's due to trauma. You didn't even finish the question.
Of that response from women, that response that you're getting from women, how much is that due to the trauma that the African-American race in America that experienced the peculiar institution of child slavery? Right. How much of that is due to that trauma?
I think a great deal of it.
30-second answer. Let's hear what Dante has to say.
I think a great deal with it, because you you have the form, you have the evolution from slavery, and then as Joe even mentioned, then it started becoming within our own community where that happened. So it is a level upon level of this trauma that's happened. And sadly, what happens is it begins to alienate even the allies against, or the allies who are behind Black women.
And who are against that consciousness.
And are against that understand, or that consciousness of being against Black women.
Okay. And Dante, what did you want to add to that?
I was just gonna say, cause like the traumas of the thing, if we go back to like, since we said slavery, you have the Willie Lynch letters where it goes old against young, women against males, light skins against dark skins, right? So then you start there. And then you go over to the civil rights movement that was started by the gays and Black women together. And then they figured out that they needed a Black man to spearhead it because only men were gonna be listened to within society. So then you have that pushback where Black men have now overstepped against Black women and the gays in society. And then from there, you get to where we were in the summer with the whole, he's misogynistic because he doesn't want to listen to Black women. No, we're peers, we're trying to get to a common goal. So like all of that trauma that's never been dealt with is always going to bleed into what we have going on until we look back and try to fix all of that. But none of that is our fault.
Yeah, I think people just deal with trauma and then try to generalize it and say, well, all people this, all people that. And it's not the case.
I feel like people project. You project your emotions onto people because you already decided what they're thinking in their head, and that's not a thing. So you decided that the reason that Tory, went against you is because he has something against you or because he's attacking you. You assume that because he decided to do something else or go a different direction, that it had something to do with the fact that you're Black or something to do with the fact that you're a woman or something to do with the fact of this, that, and the other. When in reality, your idea was just shit. Like it has nothing to do with the fact that you're a woman or a female. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the fact that you're a female. I could care less how you pee, ma'am. What matters is the fact that the idea that you just gave us is lacking in sense. Okay, the idea that you just gave us is lacking. Right. So I should be able to tell you that, even as a man.
What this young man Dante just spoke about women having a voice in the movement. Some of us may be aware that it was Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer who, in a sense, recruited, and I use that word recruited loosely, Dr. Martin Luther King for the movement. It is Ella Baker who started and who created and who was the executive director of the Southern Nonviolent Christian Coalition.
And who got a day named after them?
It is exactly. Now, I do want to point out, and we will provide, of course, links to further resource for this. We'll have that up within about 3 days. Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker both were quoted as saying that there was a necessity for strong Black leadership in our community in order to combat sociology that has been ingrained in us by constructs such as those spoke about in the fictional yet so real Willie Lynch letter. Those activists, those women who spearheaded and started this movement said we need a leader in our community, and that leader should be a man. And that leader should be looked at in order to take back what has been
100%
stolen from us through the actions such as we speak about the public religion. So how do you feel about that? I hear you feeling something over there about that.
I feel like the part of leadership needing to be a man comes from just the Christian background. Okay. The man is the head of the house. He's a leader. That's his job. That's what he does. So to be a woman, you're out of your place. And for the people that you're speaking to, me being a man who believes that, I'm the head, I'm not going to listen to this woman tell me anything. Because that's the thing. You do what I say. Or it's my plan. You can't do that. Like, I'll give you my idea. Well, let me run that to somebody because you're not going to be well received. It applies still a little bit, but I feel like that's where the good need for a male lead came from, because Black people were heavily Christian or Baptist or whatever, following that in
Africa, Black men led their family.
I understand.
It didn't come just from America. America is
Wait. No. Yeah, I was like, women were in charge in Africa.
But they were head of the.
No, there was no head of household.
There is no head of household.
Africa was communal. We lived in circles. Everybody was auntie. Everybody was uncle.
No, that was within their household. That wasn't.
No, this is not a household. This is community. These were communals. Yes, and the woman was the head.
Yes, and even then in Africa, women were the head of the wars. The warriors, all of that. Women were in charge in Africa. It was not until white men got a hold of us that they decided to make us start adopting what they had going on.
But that's why they have more than one wife.
Nobody's wrong.
Huh?
No, yeah, we're right. But I'm just saying, that's when they had more than one wife.
That was after colonialism.
That's why I ain't saying that.
What happened?
I'll cut homie off over here.
I thought she was done because Candace started talking again. I'm sorry.
Y'all just said no.
Somebody said
I'm
Africa.
sorry.
I'm sorry. One mic. Let's let Tiffany finish then. Go ahead, Tiff. My bad.
It's not real. We're just talking like that anyway.
That construct
It is a
that was
conversation.
presented by Ella and Fannie Lou Hamer. You're talking about answer to that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. A lot of, in the time, everybody was church going, regardless of where they came from. You were going to church, and your pastor was a man. There's still some, concepts of Christianity where women aren't accepted in the pulpit. You're going to speak. You're going to speak from the floor. You're not coming up here because this is reserved for men. Men are the leaders. Men are the head. So I feel like a lot of that, to reach the people and to get them to really pay attention, you did have to have the male voice there. And a lot of older generations still feels like that. We're changing it around where, you're able to have more freedom to voice yourself and people are going to listen to you. But I've been places where I've had things to say, well, where's your husband?
That's very prominent, especially in the military. They come to the front desk, they're like, "Oh, you must be the dependent." No, I'm a service member.
Could you imagine? My mom was a major.
Yeah.
Could you imagine them telling her that?
Thoughts about what Miss Tiffany was talking about right now?
I do also want to point out that Fannie Lou Hamer did not necessarily agree with Ella Baker.
Because Ella Baker spoke of Martin not making the movie.
Right. Fannie Lou Hamer is the reason why blacks got delegates in Mississippi, because she was at every damn Democratic National Convention until they were like, "You don't speak." She said, "I'm gonna speak every single time." So Fannie Lou Hamer never gets the recognition she deserves.
But how do you feel about her taking that backseat? Her voluntarily, because she's been noted as saying, I took that backseat
after
because
she
I felt like that was necessary.
After she got everything that she wanted to get done.
She got it started.
After she had, we had the delegates by the time she took the backseat and everything. So the woman did.
Of course, she chose those delegates in a sense because she was that leader that chose those leaders who would be presented to the public and who would actually be able to inspire masses to move with their voice.
Exactly, and that's the point that I'm getting ready to get to. I'm like, pick me, please.
I'm not mad at them at all for that, because what I will say that is MLK is the whitewash history of him is very much so everybody listened to him, everybody loved him, and when in fact
he was one of the most hated men
as well as white people, right?
in America.
They didn't like
He's also a noted
womanizer.
Yeah, they also didn't like this young whippersnapper who was only in his 30s, while these men was in their 60s and they've been past.
And it was the women who pushed him through.
And so, he was listening to them as well. And I cannot be mad at black women for taking the back seat when they realized what they need to get done was more important than them being the heads of it. But I also want to say that is the traumas that happen because no one fucking listens to black women. Okay.
That part.
No one ever listens to fucking black women until a man says some shit, which is some bullshit, but nonetheless, that's where we are. And I don't think that I can ever villainize Ella Baker or Fannie Lou Hamer for that, because they did what needed to be done.
I think why do you think would be a reason, Tori, I want to ask you, what do you think would be a reason why a very powerful organizer in the movement would say, we need a figurehead that is male? Why would you think that someone in that time, 1950s, because Ella and Fannie Lou Hamer, I don't want to call them by their first name in disrespect, but they were some working in the movement for a long time before we saw the bus boycott, before we saw the March on Washington. That, as Dr. just spoke about, every single session being right there. Why do you think they made that choice to say, I'm not going to lead the March on Washington, though I will organize it and I will be the leader?
Right. Oh, I mean, I can say that interesting. The flip side happened this year, where kind of the figurehead of our organization that majority of men created was we put a woman in charge, and it's because you go with what you need to figure out what's bigger than you. And at the time, the women knew that this movement and what they're doing was bigger than them. Okay. And that's where more strength and because I'll say it all the time that being a leader isn't always about being in front. It's about knowing sometimes when to be in the back.
That's right.
And putting the people in front who need to be there.
I agree. I was speaking to everybody's point when I wanted to comment on Tiffany's, but then also on your statement, because Fannie Lou is one of my inspirations or whatever, especially when I stepped into this movement. And Tristan was actually there with me the very first time that I stepped on the mic to speak during the Black Lives Matter movement. And for a minute, I'm not a shy person.
Yeah, you were in the
crowd. I was
yeah.
No. The first time I got on the mic, when I walked up there, you actually, no, it was Antonio. I was gonna say, you actually handed me the megaphone. And my little brother had the microphone the first time I walked up there to speak. And I remember being so nervous because there had not been a Black woman who had spoken yet. There were like 2 Hispanic ladies and then 1 Black male, but there had not been a Black woman who spoke, and I felt called to speak. But I had that nervousness because I am a Black woman and people don't listen to Black women. So when I got up there and I was received the way that I was like, oh, wow, finally, this is the time that people are actually trying to hear what it is that we have to say as Black women. And I was excited about that. So within the first couple weeks, it was not long before I met some pastors and I met some other people who had other organizations. And I could tell that I wasn't reaching them the same way. Like their congregation was behind me. Their team would be behind me, but the leader of that particular organization or that particular church would still be looking at me like this, or they wouldn't acknowledge me. They would only speak to Pharaoh. I'd be the one giving all the talk. I'd be the one telling them what our plan is, what we need to do, because I was the one who had the idea. I was the one who put this together. I was the one who started the organization. I did all of this, and they would still walk past me to speak to Pharaoh because they assumed that I was following directions or following orders or following the lead of Pharaoh. And right, the whole founder, I did this, and it wasn't like a, puff my chest out. You need to, honor me or bow at my feet, because I definitely, my leaders are right here with me. I'm not here, they're right here with me. However, you need to treat me the same way that you're treating him, because Tristan and Pharaoh were the only males at that particular time on the team. Everybody else on my team is a female. And if you are speaking to me this way, what happens when Billy walks into the room? That's an entire veteran you're looking at right there. I'm gonna need you to straighten up your posture, sir. That's, what happens when Josie walks in the room? You need to straighten up your posture. So you need to speak to us the same way that you're sitting here to speak to this man, because you expected some type of mutual respect. But as a Black woman who other people called me things that I did not call myself. Other people called me a leader. Other people called me a community this or a community that. Other people titled me activist. Other people called me mama. Everybody else gave me the name. I always said, we are in this together. It is bigger than me. It is bigger than us. That was always my thing. It was never about clout. It was never about you need to bow at my feet. It was never about that. And I think because I had that mindset, because I had that mindset, I didn't have the problem that the ladies had with Tori. Tori never once tried to trump what it was that I was saying, because I listened. I wasn't trying to cut him off and prove that I'm a woman worth listening to. Brother, this is my idea, and I'm going to talk to you just like this. You raise your voice, I'm going to talk to you just like this. Okay? If you disagree with it, I was like, if you disagree with me, I'm going to speak to you just like this, especially if I know I'm right. Tori and I have never had a problem.
People in the movement had a problem with Tori because he's not going to agree with you just because we're in the same movement. You can still be wrong or still have a stupid fucking idea. I don't know why people taught in school that there's no such thing as a bad idea. Yes, the fuck there is. I've had a lot of dumbass ideas, and but I think weak-minded people, and a great example of that was given in our first example with Walsh, whatever his name is, when I felt like when he didn't understand the question or what people were talking about, he got all hyped and upset. And, you know, he called Pharaoh pimp. He called all this other stuff. Yes, he made a scene. And then now in that movement, it was sort of the same thing. You know, my feelings are hurt. He disagreed with me. Right. I'm gonna call you, you know, a misogynistic asshole. When in reality, you know, me and Jordan, we were talking. We were like, I don't know. I've never had that problem.
Not
before.
once.
We've had a conversation. You know, it's all love at the end. Like we've never had a disagreement. I don't feel like he talks over me. Because I don't tolerate that because
some people get upset because they learn.
Yeah, I'm saying he was so
because
he is very opinionated. He's not gonna back down. If he believes in it, he believes it. You know, so it's just like it's a difference between being an asshole and having an opinion.
You all, I am so happy that you all invited me to moderate, Jordan, today. I want to go around the table really quickly and give everyone a chance to just give your opinion about what you think about chivalry, the state of chivalry, and very quickly, each person has a little bit of time, and I'll make sure we stay under time, but I do want you to talk a little bit about your personal experience, how this relates to the 21st century. Right now, what should chivalry in the Black community look like? Tristan, what is an example of chivalry? What should chivalry look like from one Black person to another?
Uplifting each other. I've always said this, being raised around all women. I've always respected all women, even though I'm not sexually attracted to women. That's just forgiving. That's just my mindset. That's just I'm built to learn, respect women, respect Black women at that as well. So I feel like we always have to uplift each other, adjust each other's crowns when it's tipping. Chivalry, just be nice. We're all human beings. Be nice and kind to each other. Just respect each other. Be nice. That is the only thing that we need to worry about. We can move as a community, as a group, as a nation, if we can all respect each other and focus on the bigger picture. That's it.
Dwayne, what did you take away from today's discussion as far as how you looked at chivalry when we started talking and how you look at chivalry now? Similar? Did any of your opinions change?
Well, no.
No?
But no, what I would say is, I mean, coming in, I was thinking chivalry was more men to women, but I understand, you know, people seeing it as more of a kindness and a respect thing, more for people in general. One thing that I was taught and raised and still believe is that you treat people like you want to be treated. So if you treat people like you want to be treated, then the world would be fine. Unfortunately, people don't treat people like they want to be treated.
Some people want to be roughed
up.
I don't want to be roughed up.
Treat people.
Bedroom tactics is different. But what I'm saying is,
it's kind of late, y'all.
And what I was going to point real quick is a lot of what's happened is been brainwashing because of marketing and television and media. And I say that because when a lot of us probably around the same age, I'm 42, so I'll put that there. I'm 47. But when I was raised, when I was younger, there was
everybody else at the table goes
that was about love. And there is a generation of people who have grown up where they don't have a base of love, because the marketing, we have seen that it is more, you can make more money off of beef than you can off of people getting along. And that's where our politics is, that's where our music is, that's where a lot of everything that we deal with is in the adversarial roles that we play against each other. And chivalry is not, it doesn't fit in that picture. And that's why I think chivalry is right now, and it should still be there, because everybody should respect each other as people and as humans. But I mean, but that don't happen. And real quick, just earlier when I was introduced as Dwayne, the audio guy. It's actually that main Dwayne of Good Visuals Productions, and I'm a filmmaker.
There you go.
He's a filmmaker. Correct me, sir. Correct me, sir. I'm here for it.
Go to goodvisuals.com.
The plug, right? The plug. Correct me, sir.
Jackie, what are your final thoughts and feelings about chivalry as it relates to the Black community today?
Well, I kind of agree with you, Ray.
That man Dwayne.
Go ahead and put your plug back.
She's like, put your plug back in. She's like, go ahead and do it again.
I do feel the same way that he does somewhat, but I though, yeah, it's not there anymore like it used to be. Long as there's a mother and a father in the home, there's a chance, unless that man and that woman are having arguments in front of their kids like idiots do.
Oh.
But I mean, you're supposed to go in the other room. Because you're supposed to go in the other room, you have to respect that child as well. But what I'm saying is, long as it's a mother and father in the home, and they have guidelines and regulations, and they see how those two interact, there will be chivalry. But if you're gonna be fighting and calling each other names and watching Love and Hip Hop in front of the kids, you're gonna be having kids that come up the same damn way. Excuse my French, God forgive me, I'm a Christian. But I'm just saying, you're actually brainwashing your child. So I'm just gonna say that long as they are doing, you don't have to be Christian. You have to be respectful. And that goes in everything you do. But if you are respectful toward one another, I guarantee you, your children will grow up to respect you as well as everybody else. And if you call them wimps or what they call them?
Simps.
Simp. I ain't never heard that word, y'all. I'm over 50. But I'm gonna just say this. Teach your children, teach one another how to love one another.
Tori?
Yeah, I'll go on with D-Wade. That man D-Wade. That man D-Wade. He really hit on it where that, in today's time, we find the money and we find the views and the clout coming from this aggression towards each other. That's why you have, women wanting to be, what is it? Bad bitches, right? They want to be, that's the new thing, right? They want to be bad bitches. They want, and men, they want to be balling. They want to be out of control. They want to just have strippers on top, right?
I mean, you can be a bad bitch and be a
the
good
biggest
girl.
thing, but I'll say what we can relate it to easily is the change
In
in
public too, you can be a bad bitch.
Hey, I think it's
One mic.
But I think we can see it in today's music as well, right? In the past, in the past couple of years. Thank you guys. Where we see like 90s and 2000s, right? We had like this R&B centric focused music. We had Keisha Cole, we had Neo, we had we had love that propagated all through our music, and then all of a sudden we see a huge marketing shift in how we propagate even our music and what's on TV, and it goes away from this love for brown sugar, like all of this stuff that we used to have. It now goes into like, oh, fuck these bitches, oh, fuck these bitches. Like we don't need them. And so you can obviously see where this direction has curved and moved away from what we would call chivalry, or at least how we respect and love one another.
Go ahead. That was
Dante, what are your final thoughts on chivalry today?
I still feel like chivalry is not a thing. I still feel like it's dead. I still feel like it's a social construct that needs to be deleted, because honestly, sitting at this table not wanting to throw anybody under the bus, but at the same time, I'm looking at chivalry now that I look at anger. Anger is a secondary emotion. Chivalry is a secondary thing, because every time somebody talks about chivalry at this table, they have to bring up a secondary, like, defining term, like, oh, chivalry, like gentleness. So let's just get rid of chivalry and just be good people. Like, I don't like putting labels on certain shit, because I'm just like, it don't make no damn sense.
No,
why are we doing this? Like, you be a good person because by definition, being chivalrous is not a good person, because I can open the door for you and still slap your ass when we get home. So, like, come on now, we can't really be going off of this.
We're so caught up in that.
You can slap somebody when you get home.
They'll be the same person in public.
And Billy, what are your final thoughts as we end with chivalry and what that means to us, or what that should mean to us?
I think for the most part, I agree with everyone for the most part. I think really the only thing that I didn't agree with is that you need a man and a woman in the home. I do not agree with that.
That's another time.
I do not
We'll
agree
get
with
there.
that.
We'll get
As long as there's
It's another day.
both genders, either gender, I don't care. As long as you respect one another.
You know, man, think that she gets.
Oh, she's not. She's not.
She's not like
loves
that.
us. She's amazing.
No.
But no, I think, but there are people out there who do think like that.
Yeah, but
Okay, I think at the end of the day, if the household is centered around love and being a good person, then you will, by default, produce good people who are loving, who are kind, who are chivalrous, who are nice, good people. You know, it's just good people raise good people.
There you go.
Sometimes they're shitty, but most of the time they're good.
And there's always a bad apple.
That's
Tiffany, I definitely want to hear from you all before we end about what you took away from today's discussion, what you think chivalry looks like, what it should look like. What's the ideal state of chivalry in our community?
I do not
We
think
gonna get into
chivalry
it.
is dead, but I do think it's headed to being on life support just because of the environment that we're in. How do we fix that? We learn to show each other love. Everybody has traumas, but we need to develop emotional maturity to understand that everybody, when people do things for you, it's not out of, or we have a difference of opinion. It's not shutting you down. It's not, I don't value you. You have to be able to distinguish that. If I'm not being disrespectful to you, I just don't agree.
Right.
That doesn't make you a misogynist or however they say it about you. And again, emotional maturity comes from within to accept somebody placing the value on you, regardless of your power. So-and-so did this and they let me down. You can't attach that to everybody because it's not fair. For me in my home, my son didn't have a father figure until Will came into the picture. And
it's all right.
Since then, Avery's always been, it's just in him to want to take care and open doors and mommy, are you okay?
He's the sweetest.
He's a sweetheart. He's an absolute sweet kid. But being around Will, seeing how he treats me, Avery's able to extend that to, I'm not gonna fight with my sister. Like, yeah, you know, I might jar her a time or two. But he still makes sure when she comes home from visiting with her dad, he opens the door for her. He goes to get her from the car. If he doesn't bring her to the door, I'm gonna go get my sister. Open the front door for you. We're gonna walk you in the
And
house.
he's 5.
He's 5.
He's 5.
Avery's 5. And those are just things that he's picked up from the men around him, and just watching. If you don't say thank you, because mommy says thank you, mommy shows gratitude for these things. You're welcome.
A gentle reminder.
Just a reminder.
And that's great. Will, I want to interrupt really quickly just to say thank you so much for being an upstanding Black husband.
Absolutely, Will.
No, you're supposed to do that.
Also deserves a standing ovation for being an outstanding family.
Sorry, y'all, I had to put my phone down so I could clap for these wonderful Black men.
African American men, we appreciate you all for what you have done. Tori, for your movement, your support of Jordan, your support of the movement and the Black movement, and your commitment to supporting a Black female leader. We commend you as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and end with William really quickly. My apologies, Tiffany, were you done completing your thought?
Yeah, I just feel like those are the things. If you nurture it, it's not going to be something that dies.
Okay. And our last panelist?
I will say that this is exactly why she is my wife, because everything I was going to say, she literally just said it.
Y'all still being a cute couple.
Girl, you
Not the newlywed.
I see you getting your kudo points.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we've already given you the kudos.
Right.
Come on now.
I might be getting me another nephew soon.
I feel like everything comes down to acceptance. You know what I mean? You have to accept where everybody is at with things. Whatever you want from somebody, you have to be able to get that back, and you have to know how to accept that.
Yeah.
And I think that is what is killing chivalry, is that we don't know how to accept kindness. You know, there's always some kind of ulterior motive to it, and then it's ingrained in us now to really isolate and attack whatever that ulterior motive is, even if it's not there. You know, so it's like having somebody do a random act of kindness, you know, something that is chivalrous. That's where we get these terms simp, or you're being thirsty, or, you know, why there's so much hate with Russell Wilson, because having kindness, there has to be something. You want something from me. So just bring that out and be truthful with it, when the truth is you're just being kind. So we have to know how to accept that if we don't want to kill chivalry.
Okay.
And we got to call it out on other people when they're not.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Jordan, when you selected the subject of chivalry, and addressing the state of chivalry in our community as African Americans in our community in the 21st century. What were you thinking, girl?
Make us all like
This, I wanted exactly this. I wanted a conversation because I feel like with me being out here single, right, exactly. With me being out here, these aren't conversations that we have often. I don't feel like Black men and Black women are getting together and actually having the conversation of, I feel like this conversation slowly becomes, how do I love you? If that makes sense. It breaks down to Black women not knowing how to receive love because we have yet to receive love from anyone else in society outside of family members. You know, your mother and your father who teach you how to love. And then you get out into society and realize everyone in it is against you before you even get the opportunity to speak a word. They're not hearing us. They're not seeing us. And when they do see us, we're dodging bullets. So Black women don't know how to receive love properly. And because most Black men are being raised by those broken Black women, those abused Black women, those traumatized Black women, they don't know how to give love. And for the sake of humanity, for the sake of my daughter, I hope that chivalry does not die. I do think that it is on its last lifeline. I do think that slowly but surely, not only are feminazis trying to cut the cord, but I also feel like the real nigga syndrome is also trying to pull the cord. I feel like, speaking on what Tori said, Tori brought up the fact that music shifted. I don't know if anyone else knows, but music shifted right around the time Black people started producing more children than white people.
Right.
I don't know if anybody else paid attention to that, but in the early 2000s, they started attacking Planned Parenthood because Black women were not getting abortions. Black women were having their children and white women were getting abortions. And we were starting to catch up in numbers, which they did not want because then we are no longer a minority. So they started to implement things into our lives that started changing our mindset, such as changing our music. If you pay attention to music now, if you listen to country music and rock music, they still praise their white women. White women are still damsels, you know, not necessarily damsels, but they're still in country and music that is considered not us anymore. Country music and things of that nature. They still speak of women like they're the most beautiful things in the world and there's something to be cherished. Our music was the music that changed. Our music was the music that turned us into bitches and hoes. Our music was the music that fuck these hoes, no more marriage, no more this. We ain't simps, we ain't this. We're not doing that anymore. Our music changed right around the time that our numbers started to increase as Black people in America. That is not a coincidence. I don't think it was accidental at all. I do think that it plays a large role. However, in my personal opinion, so I feel like a lot of things play into it, but I do think that chivalry is still alive. I just think that it is dying slowly. I do think that it has a lot to do with respect, but I think what chivalry looks like today is us getting together as a community within the Black community and deciding to openly love each other, openly accept each other, openly protect each other. Yes, for all of us, because I feel like we've gotten into this mindset of this is just the way things are and I'm gonna mind my business. But as another Black individual, knowing that almost everyone in this country is looking at us a different way, I feel like you are my business. You are my business and I should be your business. If you see something happening to my son, I know he's not your son, but in that moment, he's your son. You know, I'm not there. His parent is not there. In that particular moment, protect my son, protect my daughter, because I'm going to do that for you. So I feel like that is what chivalry is supposed to look like in the 21st century. It is supposed to be us coming together and looking out for each other, because I feel like every other race does it. I feel like Chinese look out for Chinese. I feel like white people look out for white people. I feel like Hispanic people, they done made a whole damn cult here in San Antonio, the way that they stick with each other. So it's like, why is it that we once again are last? Black people are last to every fucking thing. We're last to be considered. We are last to be thought of. We are last to be awarded. We are last on every doggone thing in America. Why do we decide to put ourselves last when it comes to caring about each other too? If we know they don't care about us, why didn't we put us first? That's how I feel in the 21st century. Black people need to put Black people first, in my opinion. To me, that's what chivalry looks like. It looks like Black men putting Black women first and Black women putting Black men first. That's what it looks like. We're not talking about interracial dating right now, Miss Jackie. That's a whole nother episode.
I got it.
Yes, that's a whole nother episode.
For attending in behalf of Jordan, working for Jordan, working for
we're
all of
rapping.
you has been a pleasure. And as we end, we're going to go out with the speech by Sojourner Truth that was
Awesome.
given at the Women's Right Convention in Old Stone Church, in Akron, Ohio, in 1851. And we all know Sojourner Truth to be a great activist.
Yes.
Well, children, when there is so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. I think that twixt the Negroes of the South and the women of the North, all talking about rights, the white man will be in a fix pretty soon. But what's all this I hear talking about? That man over there says that women need to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and to have the best place everywhere. Nobody ever helps me into carriages or over mud puddles or gives me any best place. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arms. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have become the lash. I have borne, 13 children and seen most all sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with my mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? Then they talk about this thing in the head. What's this they call? That's it, honey. What's that got to do with women's rights or Negroes' rights? If my cup won't hold a pint and yours holds a quart, wouldn't you be mean not to let me have my little measure half full? Then that little man in black there, he says women can't have as much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Where does your Christ come from? Where does your Christ come from? Where does your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him. If the first woman of God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down, all alone, these women all together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right upside again. And now they is asking to do it. The man better let them. Obliged to you for hearing me now. And old Sojourner ain't got nothing else to say.